Hi everybody, welcome back to another video review. Today we're looking at an oldie but a goodie. It's the Sears model 82386. This is a 14 range digital multi-tester made in Korea. Now it's no longer available, but you still can find these on some of the online sites, eBay for one. And I was lucky enough to find this online, brand new. I was still in the seal, in the wrap. And I have to say it actually was a pleasant find. I wasn't expecting too much when I originally made the purchase, but I'm really glad I did. And if you're a been in the meter industry for a while, you'll definitely see some similarities here. We have the push button tabs, which are very fluke-like, looking at the old 80 series with the flukes. All mechanical, and it's a bygone era, but I really enjoy these types of meters. I'm in the process of restoring an older fluke. Video for that will be online at some point. It is a work in progress, but yes, these old meters are a lot of fun, and when you can find one that's like this, brand new, it's a really nice find. So this type of meter interests you, yeah, I encourage you to go online and see what's out there. Now there is no standing bail with this multimeter, so I've sort of got it on a bit of an angle here just so you can see the display. It comes with a 14 range digital multi-tester manual from Sears, and they call it a low-cost, pocket-sized 0.5% DC volt accuracy meter. Kind of a nice, simple, very straightforward user manual, and something that you don't see anymore, which is definitely the sign of the times, is, look at that. Yeah, it's a full schematic of the meter itself. And wow, wouldn't that be great to get this with every meter you purchase today? So they're giving you the entire schematic and all the parts list as well, complete breakdown. So kudos Sears, yeah, that was great. And on the back of the meter it says contents made in Korea, and was printed in Chicago, Illinois. Comes with a full 3-month warranty. For 3 months from the date of purchase, Sears will replace this multimeter free of charge. Great. Now, one really interesting thing about this meter itself is the leads, and here they are. They're very small, very tiny, and they have that very nice, not plastic, but silicone feel to them. They feel very, very high grade. I was quite surprised by this. And yeah, I mean, they certainly suit this type of meter. And if we can look at the point on these tips, it's actually quite sharp. So yeah, I really like them. Definitely different, but totally going with the style and the functionality of this multimeter. Now if we look at the meter itself, it goes up to 1000 volts DC or 750 volts AC. Now one thing about this meter is the AC voltage is done in red, and very hard to read with the color scheme that they've chosen. The white is super clear, but the red text is extremely hard to see. But that being said, rating 1000 volts DC, 750 volts AC. Also does diode testing and resistance up to 2000 kilo ohms. We're going to take this apart, of course, and we'll see what it looks like on the inside a little bit later. It also does milliamps, and it says DC 2 amps max. Now we're just going to lift it up here and just give you a little look-see. This meter is very heavy. Very, very heavy, and very deceiving because in the pictures itself, I mean, it doesn't look, let's call it very solid, what have you, but it is. It's a really solid little meter, and very nice, very nice. And something else that you don't see a lot that I miss is you've got these little rubber stoppers, total of 4. So when you're putting it down on the surface, it doesn't move. It sticks very well. Now there is no bail, no tilt stand on the back, as I mentioned previously. But, I mean, when there's a will, there's a way. This was the infancy of multimeters, so they were always looking for new and innovative ideas. The tilting bail hadn't come out yet, as far as Sears was concerned. We've got 1 screw, 1 Phillips in the back to take off the back. And as well, we have a simple on-off switch mechanism. Now, like I said, this meter is brand new, so that switch mechanism, no issues. Some of the older flukes, over time, they can oxidize. Some people would put their flukes in the garage, leave them in the garage, forget about them, and find them 5 or 10 years later and realize they couldn't turn the switch on. That's because a lot of them had an oxidation problem within the switch. It became rusted and gritty and a real mess. So in this case, being brand new, sealed, and everything else, no, it's good as new. The buttons themselves, push style. If you've never worked with a meter like this before, it takes a little bit of getting used to. You have your DC and your AC labeled here. The DC has the button showing as out, whereas the AC it's in. So the black button here being out tells us that we're in DC mode. If we want to measure diode or resistance, we look at the bottom pane here. That means we have to press it in, and that puts us into resistance mode. And we'll just try out the leads themselves. So now that we're in resistance, we'll see if we have oh, look at that, perfect. So nice. Nothing to offset here. So yeah, that's good quality, very good quality. I will do a voltage test with this, and then we'll take a look on the inside. All right, for this voltage test, I brought in one of my favorite multimeters. It's a UEI DM485 Churro-Mass multimeter. I love this multimeter, and I bought it basically brand new. It wasn't working. I fixed it, and one of my favorites. I will be doing a review on this meter at some point in the future, so stay tuned for that. But extremely hard to find multimeter, and but one well worth getting. Okay, so we're at 1.7 volts according to the DC power supply. So here we go. The Sears model 82386 showing us at 1.8 volts. The UEI is at 1.78. Obviously the UEI has higher resolution, but they're pretty close. Let's take it up. Okay, we're at 5.2 volts, 5.3 for both the Sears and the UEI. Taking up another notch. Let's go to 10 volts even. 10.2 on the Sears, 10.17 for the UEI. They're both fluttering a little bit, but yeah, really close. Sears is going back and forth, 10.1, 10.2. Okay, taking it up again. We're going to go to 15 volts. So 15 volts, 15.1 for the Sears, and 15.14 for the UEI 485. Okay, I'm going to take it right up to 25 volts. The LCD backlight just went off on the UEI. So 25.1 25.2 showing on the DC power supply, 25.4 on the Sears, and 25.5 for the UEI. And we'll max it out now, 31 volts. 31.6 is the max that this DC power supply is capable of. 31.8 for the Sears, 31.99 for the UEI. So good job, Sears. Here's a model that's really old, but obviously still highly in spec, and I wasn't sure what to expect, but I'm pleasantly surprised. So good job, Sears. And once again, we'll be seeing more of this UEI DM485. Stay tuned for that. Coming up next, we are going to look at the insides of the 82386. So here we are up close and personal with the 82386. And as you can see, first of all, start with the right-hand side. Look at that. We have shielding, and lots of it. Pretty well the entire width of the chassis, save for where the battery resides. Excellent. You know, I just love when I see good shielding in a multimeter. It's extremely important. Should be in every multimeter. Now, going to the left-hand side, here we see the interesting mechanisms. As I was saying previously, we have the spring retention here. And it's very similar to the older Flukes in the actual setup. In terms of PCB layout, is strictly through hole. There's absolutely no SMD components, which stands to reason considering the year that this was fabricated. I do not see any PCB markings with dates on them. I do see something that says DM105, but I do not see a fab date of the PCB itself. Here's the main IC / display driver, all upstairs at the top, and nestled below, tons of little resistors, transistors, capacitors, and moving along, here is where the fuse resides. Now the fuse is a 250 volt 2 amp fuse, and it did have an outer marking of looked like the symbol K, and perhaps some sort of Korean hieroglyphic, but yeah, it was definitely a legit fuse, and it looks to be the original fuse that the meter shipped with. I did test it for to verify that it was okay, and it tested fine. We have a couple of trim pots over here for calibration, and moving down, lots and lots of resistors. This is the one screw where the back cover goes onto the assembly, and you can see it's a nice brass insert, extremely well fabricated. And if we go down a little bit further, let me just move this up. Here, see, it's powered by a 1.9 volt battery, your standard clip connector. And if we take a look at the input, this is where the probes attach into. Very, very nicely done. Very, very nicely done. See if I can zoom in there for you a tad. But on this mechanism itself, got these tiny little nuts standoffs, screwed, then soldered. This will definitely be around 50 years from now. These aren't going anywhere. So very high caliber in terms of the manufacturing process here. This is the ground from the meter, and nothing else. I'm not going to take it apart any more than this. Just here's the on-off switch. Now, like I was saying before, a lot of the older Flukes have a problem with oxidation within the switch mechanism itself. There's different ways around that, but in this case, as you can see, it's brand new. So looks great. So the idea with these is when you press them, as you can see, depending on the series pressed and how it's done, but it's all very mechanical. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, biggest problem with this type of device has been people break their buttons, springs are abused, what have you. They drop their meters, and of course this type of assembly much easier to break than what we know today as the standard technology in a multimeter. But that being said, I still really like the old style. Just for comparison, I will bring in, this is a fluke that I'm in the process of restoring. It's a Fluke 8022A. And you can see the similarity here in terms of the actual mechanism itself. Obviously the Fluke is a little bit bigger, obviously more functionality as well. But the general idea is the same. So buttons are a little bit bigger, spring assembly a little bit bigger, but generally the same idea. So to sum things up for the 82-386, very nice, good quality build. You can tell things weren't rushed, and I really like what I see. Definitely was put together with some TLC, and like I said, when I first initially picked this up, it was very hefty, and I can see why. A lot of technology went into that, and it's very well built. Not a lot in terms of the input protection itself per se, but then again, you're not going to be measuring high current with this anyway. It's not capable of that. So all in all, I'm quite impressed with the build quality inside. So I'll be putting this back together and give you a quick sum up. Something else I wanted to point out quickly that I forgot to touch on is this is the Fluke that I'm in the process of restoring. And the on-off switch here was completely seized. This Fluke was in amazing shape when I received it. On the outside, you wouldn't even know that it was ever used, and in fact, I don't think it was used at all. Completely pristine on the outside. Apparently, it was stored in a box. But that being said, it was stored in a garage, and as you can see here, look at that oxidation in comparison, or let's call it stark contrast, to the Sears on-off switch. Pretty well the same mechanism involved, but look at the difference in color. This one was completely seized and rusted through, and the way it was meant to be, clean and pristine. So if you do happen to come across one of these old Flukes and the power switch does not turn on, chances are it's all rusted. And I use a combination of deoxit, WD-40, some sandpaper, cotton swabs. Anyway, that's a whole other video, and that'll be available at some point in the not too distant future. So it's just one of many things wrong with this Fluke. There's also display issues and a couple of bad diodes, what have you. But in terms of the general mechanics, yeah, rusty switch. All right, so just want to point that out. So what do I think of the Sears 82-386? I really like it. Obviously, if it's not well known at this time, I do collect multimeters. I'm not afraid to say it. I collect multimeters. And yeah, I'm really happy I've got this one in my collection. It's very nice feel to it. Very well made. Has the classic Sears name that a lot of North Americans grew up with. And in terms of the electronics itself, it's top notch. I'm really impressed. I haven't used it a whole lot. It's definitely going to be take a place on my bench, take that special place, because it's a really neat find, and if you can snag one of these for yourself, I think you'll be really happy as well. So I'm going to give the Sears 82-386 a solid 4.5 out of 5 stars. Thanks for watching this review. Until the next time, keep on testing.